When your spouse rather watch it than be with you. What's the worst thing about porn? Forgetting what normal people look like. Most bodies aren't like that. Most cocks aren't like that. It's like everyone is in a permanent state of arousal. Somebody replied, Amen. Girls need foreplay or it's just not gonna be good and possibly quite painful. The industry is dark AF. Somebody replied, the amount of exploitation and sexual assault behind the scenes is extremely fucked up. There is a serious amount of abuse, exploitation, drug addiction, rape, and other abuses in the industry, and the industry itself is completely inextricably tied to sex trafficking. There is no way to fix it. I choose not to participate as a consumer. Building your sexual life around a screen instead of your partner. Why the hell is everyone in the videos naked? It's extremely unrealistic and messes with people's assumptions on what sex is and how it should be done. Also causes lots of body esteem issues. I never watch professional stuff anymore. I don't watch much in general, but if I do, it's homemade realistic sex. It gives people an unrealistic expectation of how quickly a plumber will show up at your house. Somebody replied, I am a plumber. Can confirm. Anyone need their pipes cleaned? How increasingly hardcore porn is normalized. Like, I get it, and I don't want to kink shame. But shoving massive objects into every bodily orifice is just unhealthy and dangerous. Somebody replied, I think I know why the guy in the math problems bought so many apples. When your spouse rather watch it than be with you. Due to the lack of sex ed in certain countries, this will be the only place youths will get their education. It's too addicting. I have trouble breaking it. Somebody replied, I found myself watching porn for longer and longer periods of time before jerking off. Started to become a hobby. Decided to find a video as fast as possible and get the job done without any extra viewing. I don't feel like I have a problem anymore as I watch less than 10 minutes a day most days. Also, sometimes you have to give up and do something else if it is taking too long to come. The entire step family thing. How it is so addictive and ruins one's perception of sex. So many men get sexual dysfunctions because of all the porn they've consumed over the years. It's also too accessible. The average age for the first time viewing porn is 11, which is really fucked up. Somebody replied, when I was 11 I at least had to search through all hidden spots in the house to find dad's porn collection. I'm sick of the stepsister, stepbrother and stepmother stuff. Just scrolling past those video titles makes me want to vomit and sometimes I just stop scrolling and give up. Somebody replied, who TF thought that was a good idea anyway? Someone looking a little too long at their stepdaughter probably. The fact that it normalizes harmful practices. Gaping is not good for you. None of it is real. It's not real sex. It's just actors on a set for hours till they get the right footage. What makes it worse is some delusional people hop into bed expecting what they see in porn. It's dumb. Somebody replied, don't they have amateur porn which is just ordinary people having ordinary sex? Somebody else replied, there is amateur porn like that, but most amateur porn these days is really only amateur to the extent that independent contractors are self-employed. It skips the foreplay and somehow the dude is 100% up and ready. If you're a young kid, it'll mess with you when you realize it doesn't work that way. Normalization of fucked up scenarios, normalization of fucked up fetishes, false expectations, trafficking, and addictions. I'd say the trafficking is the worst. Somebody replied, trafficking? You mean simulating it or actually trafficking girls? Probably how addicting it is and how it is changing the way our society thinks about sex. Spitting. The forced dialogue and clearly fake noises that have just become industry standard. Having a story which happens to be sexual is very different than sex that gets a story slapped on it. Somebody replied, fake dialogue and fake noises have been a porn staple since at least the 1970s. It was actually worse in some ways back in the day when sounds were dubbed heavily. It gives guys the illusion that all girls are into kinky hardcore stuff, and then they act like any girl who isn't is too vanilla or bad in bed. Somebody replied, yes. This is something that stresses me so much. I don't want to be degraded and hurt in bed, and I feel like being treated nicely and gently would be asking for too much and make me not desirable or obedient enough. I had a BF who wasn't like that at all, but I worry that those men are few and far between. Young people thinking sex is always like that. Fellas, you don't just stick it in and pound. Ladies, you're not required to take a load on your face. People are expected to be porn star when it come to real sex. My ex-boyfriend watched a lot of porn and expected me to bend in every position possible and be slutty AF. I was a virgin, didn't know shit about sex, and when I brought up to him that having sex vaginally wouldn't do anything to me cause he wasn't doing foreplay. So he was just going in dry. For me, it's just how unrealistic it all is. My ex had a porn addiction and it completely ruined me. I changed my whole personality trying to fit the mold of a porn star so he would give me the attention I wanted, but I'm not Danny Banks, so I was so messed up I bleached my hair and almost got fake tits. I started posting provocative photos and such, trying to be more like a porn star, and that's really not me at all. I'm pretty modest unless I'm going clubbing or something. Basically, my ex did not want to have sex with me because I wasn't a porn star, and didn't fuck like a porn star because I don't fuck for a living. Sorry, I can't do a split on your dick, bro. What do you want from me? Fucking up your dopamine reward system when leads to other addictions, and your dopamine's new baseline is a lot lower too. So you don't even reach the same level of drive when you want to do something. Wish someone told me in my teens. Porn can really change your perspective about how relationships work. A bit weird to explain, but it's like rewiring your brain about relationships. Labor exploitation, rape, and minors rape. Many youngers take porn as sexual education, giving them fake expectations, like about women body, penis size, the development of sex, and practice unsure methods, like not using condom. Develop so weird fetishes. I am not saying that fetish are nasty, I mean things like hentai made characters look like children, lolis, in adult situations, and pedophilia borns. Unlike most other pastimes, porn starts off being reasonable, if a little fanciful. Then the more you watch, the worse the behavior of the actors becomes until you are watching things that once would have made you turn away in disgust. Eventually, everything becomes reduced to meat slapping against meat, and you need to watch homemade porn to try to recapture some of that innocence you once had yourself. Porn is a business, not a sexual expression. The way it fucks up your views about women, over masturbation leading to depression and other health issues. It's an addiction no one's willing to talk about, and the worst part is it's free and easily accessible to all. Glamorization of small, private, intimate acts. People in the video are the furthest from normal or are modified beings. These elements skew the adaptation to reality that young people often are tricked into, or are coerced, or see this opportunity not as a career but as the only way they can afford to live. Often without knowing all that they should be informed of. Agents in sex industry aren't regulated or monitored, sometimes taking advantage of naivete or inexperienced clients. That it is a vice class behavior, highly addictive, and compromises fidelity and morality in weak-willed viewers, much the same way cigarette ads increase smoking, and slot machine sounds encourage gambling, etc. Illegal porn is rampant even on legal websites. There is also so much sexualization of teenage girls even in legal porn as well. Growing up as a girl in the 21st century is uncomfortable because it's so common to experience sexual harassment and inappropriate behavior from grown men who have grown to fantasize about barely legal or underage girls. It robs you of big chunks of your childhood and makes you feel unsafe in just about every kind of setting. There are far too many men out there who take no greater delight than the prospect of preying upon a young, innocent girl. Inherent objectification of the female sex. Violence in porn being encouraged and normalized. The ties of the human traffic industry and pornography. The pre-sexualization of children when minors get access to porn and alters their sexuality and their views of men and women and the relationship between them. It's addictive. Stop gaslighting people who deal with this issue, telling them it's a myth. There are plenty of testimonies from sad to horrific exposing the dehumanizing and wretched act of being addicted to pornography. I'm pretty sure, even if the mainstream scientific studies tells us it's completely normal and healthy, that it has impacted both my physical and mental health. I'm not saying it has caused anything, but as a factor it exacerbated my health issues, and I am not the only person who suspects this. It's addictive. It's taking you out of reality. It's weird and shows how fucked up some are. I mean FR2, mostly, strangers letting millions watch them fucking for money. It emphasizes on sexualizing your mind more and more, which can distract you and make you socially sometimes act weird because you think a lot about sex. Not everything applies to all, but for many at least. Apparently it spikes dopamine in the brain to extraordinary levels for longer periods of time than biologically safe, leading to depression and a lack of interest and motivation for other activities. Decreases gray matter in the brain, affecting learning, attention, etc. Gives unrealistic expectations of intercourse to viewers. Increases viewers' appetite for more extreme content, which can lead to complications in real-life sex scenarios. Can cause erectile dysfunction relating to the last 2 points. Cuts off viewers from actual relationships. Preferring the screen over real sexual interaction. Negatively affects how people, generally males, see other people, generally females. Wastes a lot of time depending on the nature of consumption. I've heard some really strange things from the NoFap subreddit. Some very unfortunate people having a really hard time of stopping. But for whatever reason, none of these things affected me, and stopping wasn't particularly difficult or life-changing. The diseases porn actors get from enacting industrial-strength sex. Women last about 3 months. And the fact that the industry throws them out with no health coverage as independent contractors. The image it portrays that every man has a penis half a mile long. That every woman likes to be finger blasted for 20 seconds, or have their pussies eaten way too hard, then pounded for 30 minutes straight in 6 different positions with a giant mutated dick. That women love men to shoot semen in their eyes. That ramming a huge penis into a dry butthole doesn't hurt, doesn't even bother a woman at all. That all men last for an hour, and at least 6 positions every time. Etc. How difficult it is to find anything good. That my partner watches it and pleasures himself to it way more than he fucks me, and he never initiates it anymore. Somebody replied, "You say your partner would rather jerk it to porn than have sex, but the most recent post on your profile says you are a single mother that has no partner and lives with your aunt? Curious." If you're addicted and never had sex before, it can really distort your first experience. A lot of dudes believe 8 to 9 inches is the average, and a portion of women tend to believe that as well. The industry itself tends to take advantage of women who are in bad places mentally. Mia Khalifa has even talked about how bad it was for her. Let's also not forget the fact there's a lot of harmful kinks being entertained in the videos too. The aggression. It's violent, aggressive, demeaning and shameful. It's not like back in my day. I have 3 daughters and I'm in all their shit. I can't believe how boys and girls think, act and behave toward each other. They are extremely, dangerously narcissistic. They have no self-connection when it comes to their bodies. And the kids with money. Holy shit. These parents walk around with their noses in the air. I think their kids are perfect because they got all kinds of money. Look down at me and mine cause I'm poor as shit. If they knew what their kids were capable of, they would puke. I'm in all their phones and I've noticed the kids with money are slightly different. Their characters tend to be more sadistic and dangerous and a bit darker. The porn makes women unspecial in the eyes of men. There's no such thing as romance, emotionally disconnected in the bedroom, and then we wonder why babies are having babies. Shoes in the bed. Yes, it bothers me. For viewers, it damages them mentally. It causes depression and anxiety, gives unrealistic expectations of sex and causes them to not be satisfied with real sex. For the actors, they are often abused. They are often addicted to drugs, and forced to take drugs to make their privates bigger for the video. The main comments on here seem to be about unrealistic expectations, which I get. However, all media that revolves around something that we can all realistically do, rom-coms, survival, straight-up love stories, all create these unrealistic expectations. It seems to be what art and the media does, and is not just a porn issue. I've lived at my apartments for 3 years now and haven't had sex with a single neighbor. The existential dread of post-nut clarity you receive. Knowing that while they might not be in a real relationship, they enjoy what they do in physical social interaction, while making money. You know at this point you will always be alone as your sexual expectations become skewed from watching porn. When you reach the deepest pit of this truth, you try to bring yourself up by coping with more porn, and the cycle repeats. Alright, we made it, folks. That was something. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell for daily videos and to break your porn addiction. See you tomorrow. Ciao.